Hi, welcome back. I'm Naren, and in this video, we will continue our discussion on Sun Tzu's The Art of War and how we can apply that in the game of chess. So, in the previous videos, we have covered first three chapters, and in the current video, we will cover chapter 4 on tactical dispositions. So in this chapter, Sun Tzu talks about the tactical things that you need to use in war. He says the good fighters of old first put themselves beyond the possibility of defeat and then waited for an opportunity of defeating the enemy. To secure ourselves against defeat lies in our own hands, but the opportunity of defeating the enemy is provided by the enemy himself. Thus, the good fighter is able to secure himself against defeat, but cannot make certain of defeating the enemy. So that means you should realize that any game of chess starts as equal opportunity for both the great. And hence your top goal and the initial goal should be to defend and aim for draw. So effectively, so your aim should be not to lose instead of winning. So next, once you make sure that you can defend well and you can remove the probability of loss, then you will wait for opponent's mistakes so that you can exploit those weaknesses and then aim for a win. Because if you forget about the defense, you will be the one who will be making the mistakes that will be exploited by the opponent. So when you start with the game, assume that your opponent is at least as good as you and aim for a draw. So hence don't start, like as an example, with a blind attack towards your opponent's king in the beginning. Like in cases where you don't see a weakness in your opponent's play. He also says security against defeat implies defensive tactics. Ability to defeat the enemy means taking the offensive. Standing on the defensive indicates insufficient strength, attacking a superabundance of strength. So hence, your priority should always be defensive tactics, and only when you see weakness, you should go offensive. So don't just go for offensive without finding the weakness in opponent's play. Acme of excellence is like to lift an autumn hair is no sign of great strength, or to see the sun and moon is no sign of sharp sight. To hear the noise of thunder is no sign of quick ear. What the ancient called the clever fighter is the one who not only wins but excels in winning with ease. So making no mistake is what establishes the certainty of the victory, for it means conquering an enemy that is already defeated. Hence, the skillful fighter puts himself into a position which makes defeat impossible and does not miss the moment of defeating the enemy. Thus, it is that in war, the victorious strategist only seeks battle after the victory has been won, whereas he who is destined to defeat first fights and afterwards looks for victory. So, effectively, he says, don't make any blunder. Read your opponent's mind, their strategy, anticipate for their future moves. Look for hidden things. not just what is visible on the board. Like think about the opponent's idea behind each move, what their strategy is, and how they are planning their attack, or how they are trying to invade towards your king. So just don't go by what is visible externally with each move. And also, when you have an initiative, don't lose that initiative, the play. So always plan and calculate before making any of your move. The consummate leader cultivates the moral law and strictly adheres to method and discipline. Thus, it is in his power to control success. So, the moral law in this statement, like which talks about the ultimate leader, is the chess rules. He should know the chess rules well. And the method and discipline that he should adhere to, the strategy, tactics, the preparation before the games, and the resourcefulness, how you use your resources while playing the game. So each victory has a dependency chain, what it depends on. So he says victory depends on balancing of chances, which depends on calculation, which depends on estimation of quantity, which depends on measurement, which depends on earth. So these things, some of these things we covered in the previous video. So if you look at it again, what is earth? So earth means the game positions, the openings, traps, preparation, the opponent's history. So that's where everything starts for the victory. So you should know, if you know your opponent, you should know their history of the games. That's how you do the preparation. You prepare for an opponent, looking at their older games, their opening stuffs, and also you try to have more understanding of the general opening, the positions. So that is the base on which the victory is built upon. So next is measurement. So here, based on your opponent and their opponent's repertoire and all the history of games, you get some measurement within that earth. So like earth is vast. Now for that opponent, you have some measurement of the kind of openings you might end up with or the choice that you have. And also the kind of style they have in their games. And based on that, you also try to look into the level of preparation they have or their strengths in the games. So this is how we are trying to define the victory, like how a victory will come into a player is based on these items. And then the calculation is like, okay, the player has prepared and they have their own strengths, but how they use those in each position of the game defines the calculation. And then balancing of chances is about how each player recognizes and exploits the weakness, or how they use their strengths in each position, whether to defend or attack it. And that defines like how that balances the each player's the strength of these exploiting the weaknesses of the opponents come into play to define who will be victorious in the game. So that's about the tactical dispositions, a chapter in Sun Tzu's Art of War. And we will cover chapters from 5 to 13 in future videos. If you find this useful, please like, subscribe, and share. And thanks for watching.